Welcome to yet another edition of Art of Our Moon. On today's episode, we're going to do a piece. Actually, I drew this piece a long time ago. Again, I keep saying that, but I think it's cool because I don't always get to show these. I actually only had 6 shows this year. So, that being 2017. We're on the cusp of 2018, only a couple days left. And I don't know if I'm going to get back to the grind of trying to hustle a show every month. I used to do that. Have like a solo every month. I used to show at A3 and then CS Gallery for 5 years. And, you can only show a few pieces, and I wanted to make a bunch more. So anyway, this is kind of like those processes of making a bunch of pieces, and then hey, you don't get to show them that much anyway. If you're... Okay, so basically I'm not the most knowledgeable about hip-hop history. But I do know some of it, and I was actually reading a lot of it before. When I was a kid, this was like... Grand Master Flash was like a really big, huge DJ. Like I said, mostly the stuff I listen to is rock, but in the early 80s, before I started really listening to, I listened to the radio and stuff like that, my dad's radio in the car, and then I basically heard the Beatles. That was like the first realization that there was something called a band. That's the first record I snuck into the record room and put a record on when my parents were gone. What really was a friend of my father's who was living with us for a very short time period, who had a ton of records. And my mom and dad never really had records. They had the radio and stuff. They were always, I don't know why we didn't have records. I know the reason really, but basically we never had records. And so I actually stuck in there and played the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's. And then that's what I realized at that moment. I don't know how old I was, maybe 6, 7 years old, that there was something called a band. But basically the 80s came, and my cousin, who's 4 years older than me, would bring stuff over all the time. So I'd hear a bunch of stuff that was out. And this album called The Message by him, which I guess some people say is the only album he ever put out. Maybe that's wrong, I don't really know. That was a real crazy album. I don't remember like all the songs. I remember listening to it and really being... There's my phone. It has to make that much noise. Making a big impact on me as far as like being such a huge album. It was radical. It's crazy. I'd never heard it before. Stuff like that. And it was just like, I'm trying to get some different colors, but I just really don't have any different colors, so we're just going to try to go with what I got. Maybe it would be something, But basically, it was such a huge album. Listening to that Message album, and then like recent time frame, I actually looked up. It's kind of like history of hip hop, and I could be getting this wrong or whatever, but I want to do a piece on it because I think it's really fascinating. But there was a time frame before that, I think it's late 60s, and there's one guy that comes from Kingston, Jamaica, and he has a lot of money or whatever, I don't know. He has the funds to be able, or he figures out how to get the funds to be able to afford to have a large stereo system, which was a big deal. Like late 60s, and he's whatever park it is. I don't know what park it is, so some of the details are lost, obviously. But basically, he sets this like party scene up in a park, and he's able to have these shows where he just plays music really loud, basically. And there's a lot of parties and stuff going on. And then he realized during that time that people kept dancing if you just kept the music going. So if you put 2 turntables and you were able to just transition the same song over and over. And this is a common place. It used to be, at least when there was record DJing. This was a common process and technique. He basically stumbled onto it. And then it was called the Big Sound or something like that. It had a nickname. And so eventually, about the 70s, in the mid-70s or 70s, this went on and on in different examples. Basically, this one DJ is the beginning of it. And then out of that party scene or whatever, 4 DJs, which Grand Master Flash is one of them. There's other ones too, which I can't. I'm lost on who's who and whatever. I'd have to look it up again. It's fascinating. I think it's really fascinating because it's like when you mix things together, you get new forms of art. I think of it as a form of art. So you get new forms of art that didn't, even though it's all derivative and everything, the same derivative arguments, nothing's new, and the concept isn't new. I have a master's degree. I don't know. I get annoyed with pretentious arguments, but even though it's really all derivative and all that stuff, you get a seemingly new form of art by hybriding things together, and that's why I think it's very fascinating. So experimentation of new styles through technologies that were different and different styles, and of course the party scene, people looking to party and listen to new stuff that was crazy, and so out of that becomes like 4 DJs, and he's one of them, and he basically leads to the 80s. He's still going in the 80s, and almost like all the big names that time, like LL Cool J, whatever that came out of that, were influenced or connected to Grandmaster Flash. And now some people are going to argue everything I just said, so whatever. I think it's relatively right. I hate to say, or seemingly pretty close to right. This part here, I don't know, it looks almost like his tongue was sticking out right there, but that's not really. It's like the strap. But of course, then it didn't follow through with the actual bottom part of it, so it may be a little misleading, and I'm probably just going to paint over that part. I don't really like that part of it. Anyway, I better time-lapse this before it gets too far, but he went on to be like huge and really big in the scene, and so many people, and also, unless this is wrong, I think it is right, on that album, The Message, there's one rapper guy on it there's a number of them, but there's one rapper guy called Cowboy, and he has a legendary part that's like to the hip, to the hop, just don't stop. And essentially, I think, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I believe that's where the term hip hop comes from. It's actually coined on that album, whereas before, whatever it was called, I don't know. There was different terms. Do I know about all that? No, I don't. It's like almost like a foreign world, but I think it's very fascinating because of all the implications and all the connections in society and how much stuff it was influenced and changed. And also, like I said, a hybrid form of mixing things together becomes a new form of art. That is a very fascinating element. I don't care who you are. It's really awesome when you see like a birth of something by mixture and just, coming up with new things that weren't there before out of combining things together. I think that's very fascinating, and it actually impacts the world, and not just the music industry, but so many other elements impact the world and how people think and the way things are done and everything else. It's just such a huge impact. So anyway, we're time lapses before we get 10 minutes. I already have okay, too bad. We're gonna time lapse it now, so. Hey, we're back. So, this is pretty much all I'm going to do on this piece. I'm actually going to leave the wording like white, and a lot of the image of Grand Master Flash white as well, so it stands out more. If I fill it in, it'll be. That was kind of an issue with that with the E40, like the black and white kind of really makes it stand out, and pop, if you want to call that, you know, whatever. No pun intended. But you see, I did a lot of detailing. You saw it. I pretty much filmed everything. There's more detailing I did after it. That's actually true. So I did more detailing. But anyway, so it kind of stands out. The background would be nice if it was gone. But it's just on an easel I painted it. You saw in one of my videos. Anyway, if you like this video at all, if you got this far into the video, maybe you tolerated it at least. Yeah, if you liked it at all, go ahead and hit the like. That would be sweet. And then if you could subscribe, I'm going to make a ton of more videos. Subscribe and then hit the bell, and you'll know when I post immediately after I post it up. And that's what everybody says, I know, but it'd be awesome to get some subscribers, you know, views, of course. I'm trying to get to 10,000 to at least get some level, beginning level, it seems like. And comments. Maybe if you would comment somebody you want to see in the future. It's not like I don't have ideas or other drawings. I'm going to go over every drawing I've done because I've done more than 200-something drawings. And it'd just be cool to make a video on it since I don't have that many videos for those pieces. But anyway, if you comment it, I'll throw it on the list and maybe do a new piece for 2018. So thanks for everything. I appreciate everything. Any kind of support you can lend me. Like I said, subscribe would be awesome. Thank you if you subscribe. I really appreciate it. If you subscribe to this video or you subscribe to my channel, make a comment about what subscriber you are. I only have so many of them. I'd like to personally thank you. So other than that, go out and make some art today, won't you?